Hi everyone, I am Nu-Trix the Synth guy, and thank you. Thank you all. It has been a superb 6 months on YouTube, and you guys brought me from 0 subscribers in June to more than 1,000 subscribers in January. I say thank you because you clicked on my videos, you followed me, and today YouTube sent me an email telling me that I went over the 1,000 followers and that I get into the next step. So my next goal is 10,000, but you know, I'll get there when I get there. It's no rush. If you like what I'm doing, I'm more than happy to have the support, and it's been a blast because in the last month, I've seen people react to my videos, ask questions, just give thumb ups and write real cool thank yous and a lot of thank yous. And some of the videos I did was entirely in response to questions people wrote me. And I find really cool because I feel that I can help you guys. And it's still an open door for you. If you want anything I can do to help you, I'll try to figure out how I can answer these questions if I can. And anyway, I will. It's been great. And I hope you like my videos. I see some of you actually support me, so thank you very much. It's really appreciated. The 1,000 subscribers, it's kind of the moment to tell who I am, because I figure out that after 6 months, I just, you know, in June when I started this, it was basically out of fun and as a kind of a test to see what YouTube could do, you know, for me. My 2 sons are real YouTube listeners. I mean, they basically went from TV to YouTube, and I looked at it and I started. I mean, I wasn't a YouTube guy. I wasn't watching or listening to YouTube that much, and I started in the last year to watch it. And often I was looking for stuff that I couldn't find, or I found stuff that I found that did not go enough in details when I was looking for gear. So I'll explain who I am. It probably is going to answer why I do this way. So who is Nu-Trix the Synth guy? Well, my name is Luc, aka Nu-Trix the Synth guy. I am a French Canadian from Montreal. I was born and raised in Montreal. Je parle français tous les jours. That's me. And I speak English just because Montreal is a bilingual city, and I, you know, went to school in French and in English. And you know, half of Montreal is French, half of Montreal is English. So that's how I am. I was a synth freak early on. I love the sound. I love the, you know, the space, the imagery that you can have in your head when listening to electronic music, because it doesn't sound real and it doesn't have to sound real. It's just another space. I was listening to stuff like Skinny Puppy and Nidzer Ebb and Severed Heads and Front 242 and Frontline Assembly, and that was kind of the style of music I was in when I was in my teenage years. And I bought my first synth, I think I was like 14. I bought a DX21 from Yamaha, the affordable FM synth at the time. I bought a Boss DR220. It was cool. I mean, for the time, for me, it was like, I was in heaven. I had a beatbox, and then I had a synth, and I bought a little small mixers from Boss, you know, the cheapest I could find. And I was basically just, you know, using distortion pedals on everything and just making noise, you know. I had fun. And I started doing music with my friends, you know, like everybody does. And most of what we did at the time was we called techno-industrial. And we were just trying to do stuff like Skinny Puppy, like noisy electronic stuff, you know. And it was fun. We just had a lot of fun. And remember that at that moment, computers did not record sound, or very little of it. The computer was just a sequencer for MIDI. My beatbox was doing the song, because I would chain my patterns together, and I would play live on my synthesizer, and that was I kind of get into electronic music that way, to the point that I wanted to study that. I wanted to go further in sound and music production and electronics, so I went to school. You know, I decided to go to Musique Technique in Montreal, which is a sound recording school and a music production school, and so I did my training there. I was in heaven, because I was learning synthesis on a Prophet 5 for analog synthesis. I was learning FM. Actually, now I actually learned FM at that point, because before that, I got to learn FM on my own with a manual, because it's kind of a hard thing to do with FM. So FM synthesis I learned on the real DX7 at the time at Musiktechnik, and I learned, you know, we were learning the beginning of PCM-based, sample-based playback synthesizer. We were using a JD800, if I'm not mistaken, from Roland. That was kind of a beast at the time. It was kind of the surface of an analog synth, but it was a digital brain, so kind of a cool design. But we're not yet into physical modeling, not at all. And the sampling, when we were doing sampling, we were actually using samplers, dedicated samplers with floppy disk and hard drives, and the sampler would actually sample sounds. So I learned sample on a Roland S330. We had a screen, a mouse, and a keyboard. That was kind of an advance at that point. And on the Yakai S950, you know, these were the boxes I learned electronic music with. And again, all of this was hooked up to an analog mixer, and you would just record the stereo playback of that, and that was done. You know, you had your song. So it was totally different than today. I had a blast learning all of that stuff. When I was done at that school, I started to work in post-production for TV, because at the school itself I learned that I did not want to record. That was not my bag. I was into creating sounds. I was into and making electronic music and just designing sounds. So post-production and sound design for TV was kind of a cool, interesting aspect for me. So I went to work in TV and post-production for about 6 months, and then I went back to see Musiktechnik school and say, I want to teach. I want to be a synthesis teacher or something like that. I want to teach synthesis and I want to teach sampling. They just went and say, okay, we need a technician. So I started as a tech at that point, and I went from technician to lab teacher to teacher to, I basically went all the step up to now I'm the director of operation of the school. I've been there 22 years. So it's in my blood, I think, to teach, to try to explain things to people. Over all these years, I got to meet great people as students, great people as teachers, and also great people as partners. From Roland, Yamaha, Arturia, Native Instrument, they're all really cool people. You know, they're really nice people to talk to, and they're more than interested in showing off their gear and the stuff. And what happened over the years is that I was able to get these people to come in and show me stuff, you know, just because they want everybody to know about where they're selling, but at the same time they understood that if, as a teacher, I knew about their stuff, there was a good chance I would actually say, hey, if you're interested into this, look at that piece of gear or whatever. I had one guy who came often to see me was Paul McCabe, and hi Paul if you're watching. Paul has been with Roland Canada for so many years. Now he's with Roland World, and he left Roland Canada last year, if I'm not mistaken. And Paul McCabe in my life has been a great influence because Paul is a synth freak. He loves synthesizers. He's Canadian, he's from Vancouver. The guy's really nice. He was touring Canada and showing how synthesizers and devices work. He has a natural in explaining how stuff works. And we would meet, and when he would come by in Montreal and say, I've got this piece of gear for you, test it, you know, see what it sounds like. Or he would just show me and say, I can't leave you the demo because I need to bring it back. I would learn all these features that are interesting because most of them, if you don't explain how it works, people don't understand they are there. I mean, the device we have today are so powerful that if you just look at the manual, you know half of the story. If you just look at people using them, you don't know how they did it, you know. So getting the behind the scene information has always been a real, you know, trigger in my mind to say there's a lot more you can do with these boxes. So I was always interested in getting to know a little bit more because that's what I got really early on, more information than most people had. That's why today I do this, because I want people to understand as much as possible how they can use these devices to create music. And I found really interesting because I always been inspired by hardware. And like early 2000, like most people, a lot of people got rid of their hardware and started to use the software because now we had stuff like Reason. A lot more virtual synthesizer would be powerful enough to replace the synthesizer. So I went from a huge bedroom studio. I had an electronic drum, 3 different drum brains to be triggered by electronic drums. I had 3 different beatboxes. I had 6 or 7, synthesizers. I had a Prophet 5, a Micro Moog, an Oberheim Matrix 6. I had a Korg Poly 800. I had, I don't remember, SH32. I had a JP8000. I had a SC1 from Studio Electronics, and I probably forget. I've been like a lot of people. I bought and I sold stuff around. Gradually, from 2000 to 2010, my studio shrank to the point that it became almost just a laptop, And I kept 2 pieces. I kept the Studio Electronics SE1 and I kept the JP8000. I got the iPad 2, started to try out to make music on it, but for a lot of years the iPad 2 or the iOS was not ready yet for replacement of a computer for making music. So these things were kind of fun to play with, but not making music itself. It was just like playing music, so which was okay. I went from a lot of hardware to mostly software, and in 2007 I decided to release what I had compiled between 2000 and 2007, 2006 basically. In 2006 I started to master my stuff, mix my stuff, and I just say, okay, I've got a lot of stuff I did, let's make it into a final product. It's called the Superior, which is the name of a building in Poland. My wife is Polish, and after going to Poland, I just love the sound of it. It's Superior, and I was inspired by these words and sound, and that's often something that's really interesting about another language, is that you don't listen to the words, you listen to the musicality of it. So it was kind of part of how I listened to it at that point. Some of the songs are made with hardware. And some of the songs are made mostly with Reason plus maybe one synth to finalize it, and it's mostly Reason.
High definition, high bandwidth.
And that was in 2007. Done deal, canned that. And then I got a son, which I love. But what happened is that the room I was planning to make my studio in was then repurposed as a bedroom for our first son, which is totally normal. I went really into working on the laptop and the iPad, and honestly, I almost stopped making music. I had the old iPad 2, was kind of not powerful enough to do what I wanted to do, and the software just getting gradually where it should be, but it was not there yet. And I never quite got inspired by software, I've been using Sequencer for more than 20 years now, but sequencers are just a tool. I am more inspired by step sequencers, or sequencers that are built-in, or pattern-based sequencers that are in the hardware. I don't know. There's some really deeply inspiring aspect for me for the real interaction of physical, tactile reaction of playing in the knobs and changing values on a piece of gear. That is linked to my interaction, from my brain to music to the sound. The computer does not give me that feedback, that reaction or that tactile interaction that I think most musicians have with their instrument, and that's why gradually I stopped making music, because I was not inspired by it. And it was a moment in 2015 where all of this changed. I had a call one weeknight 9 p.m. from Paul McCabe from Roland, and he says, "Look, are you available tomorrow morning?" I'm like, "What?" Paul's from Vancouver, I'm in Montreal. Like, okay, well, yeah, I can be available. What's the thing? And he said, "Well, tomorrow I'm going to do a demo about digital pianos." I'm like, okay, digital pianos, not my thing. I'm not against it, but just not my thing. He knows that, and he started laughing, and he goes, "No, I've got something to show you that I can't talk about. I cannot talk about it, but I can show you. And I think you want to see that." And I guessed what he was talking about, because we just had a leak on the internet the week before about the Boutique series coming out from Roland. It was kind of the first that was showing, I think, a JP, and people were like, "Oh, JP Jupiter is coming," but it was just like a leak for a day and then disappeared. I just go, "Okay, you've got the boutiques." He says, "Well, what I have, I can't tell you, and you will not be able to talk about it after you've seen it, because it's not yet announced." I'm like, okay, that's what it is then. I'll be there tomorrow. So I go there the next day, exactly what it is. He shows me the three, I think it was the Juno, the JP, the Jupiter, and the GX, GX3P, if I'm not mistaken, the first generation of boutiques. And I play with these boxes, and I'm amazed. I'm having so much fun of playing out the sounds, making the sounds with it, because I'm a synth guy. I love hardware. I love the interaction. I love the fact that you can play these knobs and you've got the sound, and it's just massive and juicy, and you get these resonance moving and this filter opening and closing. I'm just like, I'm just a happy camper when I'm there and playing with these things. And I come up of that meeting with Paul, and I know I need to buy gear. Not specifically, I don't mean buying the boutiques by itself, because I didn't buy these actually. They were great, but I was not ready for these boxes. But I for the next month, I was thinking about making music, and I was like, I'm not inspired by computers. I don't like it. I'm not, I saw that I needed to buy hardware. So I went back, and I went to buy the TR8, the TB3, and the VP3 at that point, the black and green boxes. And I had fun playing with them, making music with that, and just getting back into making music hardware thing. Remember that I probably didn't touch any hardware for making music for probably 6 years at that point. So it was kind of getting back into it. But really rapidly I got into making new songs, but I still didn't like the TB3, the black and with plastic tactile interface. Actually, the TB3 is a great sequencer. What I really didn't like about it is I could not make my own sounds. Every time I was making music with that, I was frustrated to hell because I could not create my own sound. It was like, nah. So I got rid of it, and I bought the Arturia BeatStep Pro as a sequencer. So I went hardware sequencer with hardware synthesizers, and like, okay, now I'm actually happy. I can actually build my own stuff, and I actually really loved it. Then, like most people, I had a problem of time, not having enough time to sit in my studio and make music. And I had another son, so another kid, less time, which is normal. So my logic was to, okay, let's focus on making music with iPad for a little moment. And in 2016, I said, okay, let's give myself a limit and time limit. So I release something, because if I just say I'm going to make music until I'm done, I will never finish it. So it'll just give me a date, and I'll finish my songs for that date. And I was making music, composing stuff, and I found that the only time I had was anywhere, but I didn't have enough time to sit in the studio to create songs. So the iPad became one of the options. Upgrade my iPad to an iPad Pro 12. So that was my gift to me, to say, okay, that's my tool, and I'm going to try to do a whole album just on the iPad. One of the reason I went to the iPad and not just studio, time. I could take that iPad and create music anywhere. You know, I could go to karate with my son, and while he was, you know, in karate class, I would sit down and I would have a full hour to create music. So I was the dad with a headphone at the karate class and making music on my knee, and people were looking at me like, "What is he doing?" You know, I was creating music, karate classes, bedroom, kitchen table, backyard. Brought it to, you know, Cuba on vacation and composed at the beach. You know, I was creating music everywhere I could, and my goal was to release something at Christmas. Basically, it was done by Christmas. It was released in, I think, February last year, 2017. I did a lot of songs, like most people. You go, well, many songs, and then bring it down to the one you find the most finished, or in a way, the one that feels the most in the same family. Because I have other songs I made, but I didn't find what fit in the same package, you know. And at one point, I was like kind of tired because I was like, okay, I don't have time to finish all these songs for Christmas. And one of our teachers, Echo, if you don't know him, he's a really cool composer, and he's a really bright guy and a nice production, you know, mind. I was talking about my music I was working on, and I said, I don't think I have, you know, enough material to do a whole album. It's like, and he said, like, nobody does album anymore. Just do an EP, you know, do an EP of 3 or 4 songs and do more EPs instead of, you know, building an album over 3 years. Do 1 EP per year, and that would be it. You know, like, you're right. So I said, okay, I'll finish like 4 songs I really like, and that will be it. That's the release I did almost a year ago. It's called the mobile session of Nu-Trix. Everything was done on the iPad. The composing was mostly done on Gadget. Mixing and mastering was done with Aria Pro. I talk about these apps often when I talk about iPad stuff. That was it, you know. That was the bubble I was working in. And the only moment I went to the computer was because I would actually bounce the final result to listen into iTunes and move it anywhere. I did not even use a sound card because it was bounced, so I don't have to go through converters. That's it. So it was mixed by headphone, verified on speakers, and mastered by myself. But I started to do the mastering. I didn't like what I was doing. I know it will sound like I'm doing a pitch, but Echo did a mastering class, which is a French one, but it's a mastering class on Musiktechnique Academy online. And I know he's doing mastering for electronic music, so I said, okay, I'm going to master my own stuff. Let's follow the class. And after that, I just applied these to my songs, and I finished the master. So my songs were mastered by myself, following his recipes that he was giving in that class. But I did apply them to the iPad work, and that was it. That was my release. So let's listen to some of the songs just to give you ideas of what I'm doing. So that's it. That's me. That's Nu-Trix the Synth guy, a French-Canadian from Montreal, making electronics for the last 20-something years. I just love explaining stuff. So if you like what I do, I know some of you do, so thank you very much. And it's the moment to write me comments and questions and stuff you would like to see. Would you like to see me show how I make a song? Would you like to see me explain how I use the BeatStep Pro or a new piece of gear coming out? I don't know, I might have new stuff soon that I don't even know exist yet. That's it, guys. Thank you for all your support, and fill up.